People are starting to ask whether AI is about to make university degrees pointless. And if you're a student landlord, especially here in Leeds, that's not a philosophical question, it's an existential one. Because if fewer 18-year-olds go to university, fewer people need to rent your rooms. So I dug into the data, including enrolment numbers, employer surveys, what's happening in Leeds specifically, to answer this properly. Now, for those of you new to the channel, my name is David, and we run a student-focused letting business here in Leeds. We rent around 600 rooms to students every year, so the question of whether universities will even still be a thing in 10 years' time is pretty important for me. Let's start with what's actually happening to student numbers, because this, of course, is the foundation everything else around this topic sits on. The headline story from the Higher Education Statistics Agency, otherwise known as HISA, over the last couple of admission cycles paints a postgraduate international slowdown, driven mainly by overseas policy changes and cost pressures studying here in the UK, not by AI. Undergraduate domestic demand has stayed comparatively resilient. Now, that distinction matters enormously for you as a landlord because most of your Leeds tenant base is undergraduate, not international postgraduate, who tend to want the PBSA blocks in town. So the segment demand that's actually softening isn't even the segment that fills your HMOs. So point one, the slowdown in student enrollment story right now is a visa and cost of living story, not an AI story. Now to the AI question directly. Is there any real evidence employers are moving away from degrees because AI is making them less useful? Well, there is some, yes. Now, a handful of large employers have publicly dropped degree requirements for certain roles, and there's genuine debate in tech and finance about whether a degree still signals what it used to. But honestly, this is a slow-moving structural shift in employment. Employers dropping formal requirements doesn't mean they've stopped hiring graduates. Degree holders are still disproportionately hired, even when the requirement is removed on paper based on the data to hand. AI is also changing how people study. Think chatbots doing homework, universities scrambling on assessment policy, but there's no strong evidence yet that AI itself is suppressing the decision to enroll in higher education. If anything, the accreditation and networking value of a degree is proving stickier than the AI can teach you anything narrative, and that isn't something to be ignored. So is AI actually killing degree demand? Well, there isn't a zero effect, but nowhere near AI is going to wipe out universities territory, not yet at least. Now, bringing this back to Leeds, because national data only matters to you insofar that it shows up locally. Now, the University of Leeds and Leeds Beckett haven't shown collapse level enrolment drops at all. What we've seen on the ground, and I've felt this directly through the business, is a genuine softening in inquiries this year, but the driver isn't AI, it's been the Renters' Rights Act. Students and their parents are increasingly aware that stronger tenant protections are coming, and many are deliberately holding off signing early to negotiate better terms once it lands. That's a timing shift in demand, not a collapse in demand. There's also a structural shift worth flagging separately. Demand is moving away from large 7 to 8 bedroom HMOs towards smaller 2 to 4 bedroom properties. That's not an AI story either, it's about student preferences and landlord portfolio composition. But if you own large tired HMOs, that's arguably a bigger risk to your income than anything AI is doing. Now pay attention here, because if you're worried about the wrong thing, you'll miss the thing that's actually going to affect your income returns. Number one, legislative change. The Renters' Rights Act compliance costs, notice period changes, and how quickly tenants and landlords adapt to the new rules. Secondly is a portfolio mismatch. Large HMOs versus the shift towards smaller units. And three is the alternative credentials growth. Boot camps and apprenticeships are growing, but most of that growth doesn't compete for the same 18-year-old away from home HMO renting demographic. Apprentices often stay local, they're not your typical tenant pool. AI is definitely a 5 to 10 year watch item, but certainly not this cycle threat. So practically, here's what I'd suggest if you own or are considering student property in Leeds, or nationwide to be honest. Don't panic sell on the AI headline. The data just does not support it. Now do reassess large oversized HMOs. That's a real current portfolio risk. And thirdly, get ahead of the Renters' Rights Act compliance now rather than reactively. This is the actual near-term disruption. Also, watch two leading indicators going forward: the UCAS application volumes each cycle, and if any employer moves at scale away from degree requirements. Those are the two things that would probably affect my answer. AI might change how universities think over the next decade, but it's certainly not killing student rental demand here in Leeds or nationwide. The real pressures right now are legislative and structural, not artificial intelligence. Now, if you own student property in Leeds and want a proper read on how the Renters' Rights Act or AI will affect your portfolio moving forward, drop a comment below or book a free portfolio review in the link underneath. Until next time, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.